Okay, everybody. I'm going to put everybody on mute.
Was on mute. Was it?
Mute all.
Oh, sure.
Everybody's on mute except me, because I'm going to start the meeting and I'm going to tell you what's happening tonight. So I'm happy that everybody's on this call. I'm Robin Schwartz. I am Program and Grant Director of the Community Arts Partnership of Tompkins County. And I just wanted to introduce Kristin Reed, who's a cinema and photography student at Ithaca College and our intern this semester. And Leah Davis is also on the call. She's helping us with the technical aspects of our Zoom calls. And she's available if anyone needs help with any virtual events. I just laughed, Sue, brightly because I see we were checking out how the chat room works. And Sue, your comment, "I'm scarfing down dinner," is now immortalized in the chat room. So for the Greater Ithaca Art Trail, not only do we have these virtual events, this was the first weekend of 2 weekends of events. Next weekend, there are open studios. About 20 of the 40 artists on the trail will be open. And in addition, we have more virtual events next weekend. So I hope you go to arttrail.com and check them out and join us. The Art Trail also has an event on the first Saturday of every month. And for August and September, those were just like this. There were studios open during the day and virtual events at night. But I think what I'm going to do for the November first Saturday and then into the future is maybe have a themed event. For example, one of the artists suggested, what happens when you're creating something and you get stuck? You don't know how to continue. And she wanted to call it, "Okay, now what?" And I thought, okay, that's fun. Why don't we get a panel of artists and we'll just talk about questions like that that have to do with anything that has to do with how they think when they're making their art. So housekeeping for oh, I forgot to thank the sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors. You know, we lost county funding for all of our events, so that the sponsors stuck with us is really great. Our sponsors are PW Wood and Son. That's an insurance agency in town, been here forever. A fairly new law firm called Bousquet Holstein, and CFCU Community Credit Union. Thank you. Thank them. If you see them, if you know anyone at those firms, thank them. So housekeeping for this event. I always say that the bathrooms are down the hall. We are going to keep everybody on mute throughout the event. However, I want you to please type questions into the chat. If you don't know about the chat, at the bottom of your screen or to the right of your screen, if you're on a phone, you'll see little icons, or you might see something that says more with 3 little dots. Click on the chat and you can type questions there. We want you to ask questions, and after each artist speaks, we will read your questions to them, and that's how we can all participate. After the 3 artists tonight, if any of you want to show us something, you know, something that you've created, you can just kind of like, you know, hold it up to the screen. And I thought that would be a fun thing to do, you know, to make this more like a conversation over a kitchen table. And then afterwards, I'll just take everyone off mute if you want to hang out. I call it the after party. So we're going to start with Sue Brightly. And we're going to run a great film that Sue made. It's really good, Sue. It's a good film. And then Sue is here with us. So after the film, we'll talk. Sue is one of the 20 or so of the 40 artists on the trail who are not open next weekend. But Sue and all the Art Trail artists would love you to be in touch with them. They're still on the trail. They want you to be in touch with them, look at their work, visit their websites. So after earning an art degree at UC Santa Barbara, Sue went on a long, this is what I chose to read, Sue, from your bio, because I think this is really interesting. Sue went on a long and winding career journey that included art directing a show dog magazine in LA, documentary filmmaking in Tibet and across Asia, running a small dude ride horseback operation in California, selling $50 steaks at a butcher shop in Texas, and finally here to Ithaca, where she works at Cornell University. So without further ado, we will run her film.
Hi there, Sue Brightly here. And I'm sorry I'm not going to have an open studio this year for the art trail, but I'm going to bring you a little bit of virtual art trail and what I'm thinking of doing next year. So come on with me. It's a beautiful, gorgeous fall day. The trees are just starting to change colors, and some of the trees are a little more colorful than others. Well, thanks for coming by and joining me on the virtual art trail this year. I hope we can all do this together in person next year. That's my plan, is to hang everything out here in our woods and be able to walk with you and enjoy nature and art and all the fun talking and chit-chat that we get to usually enjoy. In the meantime, though, I do have a new website. So you can check it out. I have all my paintings there, as well as this year I've got stickers of some of those crazy mice and some of the other characters, as well as t-shirts and prints. And of course, if any of the paintings spoke to you, feel free to give me a jingle. All my contact info is there on the website, suebrightly.com. So thanks again for coming by. Until we get to see each other again, stay well. Bye.
Yay, I love that. So Sue, I had a question for you, actually. Remember, you talked about how your paintings are often described as whimsical, and you had a comment about that.
Mm. Yeah, I find them to be like they can look cute at first, but if you look a little deeper, there's usually something kind of more sinister going on. Like this background, those little creatures hiding out. I don't know, they seem kind of malevolent, potentially. I don't know. And then there's malevolent things happening. Why are they hiding? So there's a lot of that kind of going on in my paintings. I just want to say thank you, Robin, and everyone for putting this together.
So a lot of your paintings have these stripes in them. And then people also saw that you were wrapping string, is it? Or yarn?
Yarn.
Around.
Yeah.
And was your work always this colorful?
I think I've always been pretty colorful.
Yeah. But the stripes, wrapping sticks was something that only happened since I came to Ithaca. So and it started because I didn't know how to knit or how to crochet. And so I just liked yarn and started buying yarn. And it's like, I have to do something with this. So then I've got so many dang sticks. So I just started wrapping them. They look really cool for me.
You know, you just gave me an idea. I've got buckets of yarn and
Ooh.
I keep thinking I'm going to learn to crochet and I never do it. Maybe I'll just wrap my lamp, you know, these poles that I have in my room with the lamps.
You can wrap anything. I wrapped my steering wheel. I wrapped bottles. I wrap, once you get started, it gets crazy. But it just makes life more colorful and soft.
Right. I really like what you did with putting stuff outside because not every artist has a studio that they could bring people into. And your solution, I mean, before the pandemic, we were going to find you another location for the art trail weekends. That was an idea that I had. But you found a solution, which was to put the things through the woods. And, you know, we're fortunate this year with the weather.
Yeah. Oh, it was really hard yesterday and today. I felt so sad because I really enjoy the open studio experience, and just because you meet so many other artists and just people that come by. It's fun to talk. And so anyways, I'm really looking forward to next year hanging everything in the woods because it's just fun. And it's
Yeah.
I think they're at home out there.
So everyone who's on the call, since you have your videos off, I just want to know you're there. Put in the chat, what's your favorite? Which one was your favorite Sue piece? I like the Zoom bomb one. I like the one with the cat butt in the, what was the character who was at the sitting at the computer? Was it a?
Oh, it's that mouse, the mouse that keeps showing up. Yeah.
That was my favorite.
Which was one of my paintings, Difficult Conversations. I lived in a house full of mice. So.
Oh, real mice.
Oh, very real. Very
Okay.
real. So real. So much real.
Well, thank you, Sue. Now we're going to move over to Brian. And Brian's studio is open for the Greater Ithaca Art Trail next weekend, but also his North Star Art Gallery in a beautiful Victorian home on Snyder Hill Road is also open. And today we'll see Brian's studio, his work, and he'll show us a painting in progress. Brian's paintings have received numerous awards over a very long and very productive career, and his work is featured in numerous private, business, corporate, and museum collections. So now let's turn this over to Brian.
Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to my North Star Art Gallery in Ithaca, New York. And I'm going to explain about a painting that I'm working on here now. Then I'll just walk around a casual tour of the current exhibit here at the North Star Art Gallery, which is mythology, allegory, and a few biblical themes too. But I'll show you what I'm working on here now. It's this painting of Keuka Lake south of Penn, and as you may know, I do a lot of plein air work. And if you look over here to my left, this is the plein air painting that I did right there on location. I got it about 50% done and then finish it up here in the studio. But now over here, I'm doing a large version of that same theme, and I'm changing the format to a horizontal format, and it's a little later in the evening. But the pardon the pun, but the leitmotif in my paintings is light, but also composition. A couple of painters that I think of that probably nobody associates my work with is Richard Diebenkorn, California painter of the 50s and 60s, and Franz Klein, an abstract expressionist from near my hometown in Pennsylvania, from Wilkes-Barre. And if you know his work, it's kind of Zen-like and very brushy, black and white. The point I'm trying to make is that I think a lot about the abstract design of my paintings, and it's almost kind of like a martial art when I start, and then I gradually get more realistic. So I think of them sort of abstractly and pure design and composition as I'm composing them, especially outdoors for the plein air ones. But if you just come down here, I'll just show you a minute or so what I'm doing here. I'm just painting the late afternoon light. It's called the golden hour, and just working very broadly and generally, and applying the light on. This is a vineyard down here, and it'll progressively get more detailed, but at these early stages, I work very generally and broadly. And another thing that I was doing was bringing out the, you can come down to my palette here. I'll just do a little bit of mixing here. I'm mixing up a light warmish gray, and doing that by putting a little bit of Naples yellow and a little bit of yellow ochre to get a kind of a warmish gray to, because I'm not painting the object so much as the painting the light, and it's the warm late afternoon light. And there's an interesting name for this road phenomenon, if it could be called a phenomenon. It's the camber of the road, which means the tilt of the road that allows the water to drain off. And so I'm establishing that plane by highlighting the side that's toward the sun here. Okay. So I got a little work to do. That's just a little snippet of my painting process here. And now I'm going to give you an abbreviated tour of the current exhibit. I'll take this painting down and show one of the paintings that's part of the show. It's this Three Graces. The Three Graces is a theme from ancient Greco-Roman myth, but there's a lot of painters from the Renaissance on up, like Raphael did the Three Graces. And I get contemporary models to pose. And so I take the ancient myths and give them a contemporary twist. As you can see, they're all in a contemporary dress. And I just thought I'd show this one down here. It's a biblical theme of the Old Testament of Daniel and the lion's den. And here's a photograph of me painting it many years ago, maybe 30 years ago, in the National Gallery of Art. I'm making a copy directly from a Rubens painting there, so you can see me painting it direct. And that's what artists have done for a long time, painting in the Louvre and other places. And now I'm going to show you my most recent allegorical painting. It's based on a famous painting by Velázquez, a 17th century Spanish painter. And the title of this one is called The Forge of Vulcan. And I got some friends of mine, some musician friends that went on a canoe trip with me this summer in Pennsylvania, and asked them to assume the poses from the Velázquez painting. So it was very fun. They're all terrific characters, and it was wonderful to portray them. The guy on the left is a local fellow, Matt Peterson. He used to work with Susan Titus on the gallery downtown on the Commons. And he's posing as Apollo. Okay, so if you step back a little bit and come over to this one here, this drawing, it's the one that you're looking at there is the preliminary drawing. It's a charcoal drawing that was done in anticipation of this painting. Okay, so this one you're looking at, it's a sketch based on a mythological theme of a satyr and nymph. It's from a terracotta statue in the Metropolitan Museum in New York City. And I do this quite frequently where I will work from statuary. I've done it in many museums, in the Louvre and the Uffizi. It's great fun to do because the models don't move. And if they're in marble, they're wonderful virtuoso expressions of the human figure with every nuance sort of hyper realized. So it makes it very accessible and relatively easy for us painters. Okay, this next one that you're looking at is also in the mythological theme. It's, I call it Ulysses Sirens, and I've been teaching in Italy for many years. I teach these workshops there, and this one is based on the coastline of Tuscany at Vernazza, and I've made it into a mythological theme. Okay, so let's see, I'll show you the preliminary sketch for that if you come over here and look at this drawing right here. And it's a charcoal drawing on tinted paper with white pastel highlights. Okay, we're going to switch to some landscapes here. This one that you're looking at here is a view of that I did as a demonstration for one of my classes that I taught here. And in the evening, we would go down to the Inlet and paint. So this was done direct on the spot. I get it about, I get it established, varying degrees of completion, 50 to 60%, and then finish it up here in the studio. But it's very rewarding to do these plein air paintings. It's very challenging. The light is fleeting and fugitive and the clouds are moving. And so there's a lot of things that go on, and the weather could add to it. But it's always nice to be out in nature, especially on beautiful summer evenings. This was an August evening. I'll do one other mythological one here. If you go back to this one, this is based on the famous painting by Botticelli. I took one little chunk out of it and put myself in the place of Zephyr, the god of the wind, and two of Botticelli's figures. I think they were the goddesses of the harvest. I forget their names right now, but so I took that theme and transposed it up to the current day, contemporary day. Okay, I guess we're doing okay on time. I'll do another mythological one. Here's one of the Three Graces dancing, but it's based on a statue in New York City in Central Park, a wonderful, I guess it's a bronze statue and it's a fountain, but I took that image and transposed it into Buttermilk Gorge here in Ithaca and did it as a nocturne. So it's an example of taking mythological themes. And I'll point out this one here. This is a plein air painting of the Susquehanna River down in Wyalusing, and it has an environmental aspect to it because, as many of you know, the fracking industry is very predominant there. It's much to my dismay, and they're building this 265-acre abomination of an LNG plant there. So I always mention that we're much more fortunate here in New York State and Ithaca to have prevented this industry from entering New York State. Okay, so I think we'll just, there's one more mythological one here. I've got some models here from Ithaca, local people that I posed in this painting. It's called Cylinius. He's the god of wine. He's usually pictured on a donkey, riding on a donkey, but I've put him here with a glass of wine, and it's kind of in the tradition of France halls with raucous kind of tavern scenes. So that's the subject there. Okay, and this last one that we'll do is a scene of Cayuga Lake with a self-portrait there on the left. It's at Stewart Park across from the boat club, and late evening light in the summer. Okay, so if you come back here to me, that will kind of conclude it. So I hope I haven't gone over my time.
No. As you can see, everybody, his studio is jam-packed with art. Hey, are you guys open every weekend during the year or by appointment?
By appointment, pretty much every weekend, but we haven't been away since the pandemic hit, but periodically we go away, but this year we haven't, but we can be open just about any time by appointment, and we're just a few miles east of Cornell and downtown, so we're very convenient.
Are you doing any more classes? You did one yesterday.
Yeah, I just finished one yesterday. It was an absolutely wonderful day, a great group of students, very inspiring to see them all painting, and they did a terrific job. We did one each month since about June this year, but this was the last one for this year, and we may do start them up again next spring. So that's another thing that we do here is offer these plein air workshops. And we did a portrait workshop and I think that was the only other subject that we did last year.
We actually have a question for you in the chat, which I'll let Kristin, but I have a question. I'm always personally fascinated on how people's work develops. I mean, obviously you were probably painting in elementary school, were you?
I wasn't painting, but I always knew, from an early age, I was drawing in elementary school, and I played sports in high school, but then I got injured. It was kind of like a silver lining or blessing in disguise, because then it made me focus on my art more, and then I went to art school in York, Pennsylvania, after high school.
And were you mostly doing very classical things then? Because I feel like you're famous. I see the mythology. I see some very classical paintings, and then I see the landscapes, and then I see you combining the two together. Were you the landscape painter when you showed up in art school, or did that happen later?
Yeah, I didn't really have a direction except portraiture. That was my early focus in the early part of my career. people that have been in Ithaca for a long time may remember me in Center Ithaca. When Center Ithaca first opened in the early 80s, I was there for 4 years doing portraits. And so I had that grounding in academic realism. But in art school, I was kind of focused on a group of painters called the Ashcan School. They were painters of sort of the gritty life of American street scenes, Philadelphia and New York City street scenes. And that's sort of what I was influenced by early on.
So it didn't look like this. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So just evolving, I guess.
I'm so fascinated by that evolving. We have a question. Carrie Robertson, who's actually on the art trail and will be one of the artists featured in our virtual events on the 17th, says, I love your work. Is there any kind of content that you have always wanted to deal with in your work, but just haven't gotten to it yet? That was one of her questions.
Yeah, nothing specifically comes to mind. Just further exploration of what I'm already doing. There's a sort of endless availability of themes out there, and I'm very fortunate, or we're very fortunate to live in this beautiful area there. So as a plein air painter, there's an abundance of themes out there. Well, one thing, I mean, I painted the gorges here, but I haven't really focused on them too much. Maybe to make a series of the waterfalls and gorges is one thing that I may want to do.
Well, I can't wait to see that. She also asked, does your musicianship enter into your art?
Yeah, sometimes people ask me that. I have this this band that I play in called Zingology, and it's a wonderful experience to have a great group of musicians. We do gypsy swing, and there are parallels. And I'm also a dancer. That's another part. I've been a swing dancer for decades here in Ithaca. It's another great thing. Before the pandemic hit, was a great music and dancing, and so there are parallels between dancing and especially with figure painting. One thing that I'll just mention is the weight-bearing leg. They talk about that a lot in tango. They talk about your axis, and there's something in figure painting. We always try to determine what the weight-bearing leg is in the model. So there's one quick one that comes to mind, but there are many other corollaries and analogies that can be made. So don't do that.
Well, thank you, Brian and Linda behind the camera.
Yeah, thanks to Linda for this, and there's Linda.
And Linda,
Thank you for all the work. I know this has been a big project, and I really appreciate all the effort that you've put into it. So thank you so much.
you're welcome. And I want everyone to think about visiting. It's called North Star Art Gallery on Snyder Hill Road tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. That's Monday.
Yes.
Next weekend. Or anytime, really, through appointment. And Linda likes to show you their Victorian house as well, right, Linda?
Oh, yes.
Here, I'll point the camera at Linda here for a second.
I mean, you show people your cupola.
Absolutely. Let me grab the cupola painting.
Like, I didn't mean you should take us there right now.
Well,
But
we
she
have
wants-
one. We have one here.
She wants to show us the painting, but one of the things about the art trail, oh yeah,
This was part of a en plein air demonstration. And this was one of the first demonstrations Brian did outside with that particular group. And I can also show you a painting, a nocturne painting Brian did of our house. And here's the main entrance, here's the cupola, but over, you can't see it, but the wing this way is the entrance to the two-story gallery. And we've got some music influence in here.
yeah.
I'll just explain about this one quickly. It's a painting of Harry Aceto, a local musician, great musician, and he's also a luthier. He worked above the Ithaca Guitar Works for decades, but he retired fairly recently. And here's another one of him. So these are examples of my sort of genre scenes, and it's based on a painting of Vermeer using the same kind of light coming in and an interior like a Vermeer. So
Yeah, just amazing. You know, one of the things that Linda has shown us is that when you visit people on the art trail, it's more than just looking at some pieces of art, you know, unlike in a gallery where it's just the art. I mean, you get the people. I went to Annie Campbell's house years ago. Now she's cleaning up. I went to Annie Campbell's house years ago, and I ended up walking her dogs, like on the art trail. Like, how did that happen? But it was just seemed to be an organic part of how those weekends went. So thank you guys. We're done.
Okay.
You don't have to clean up anymore. Is
Okay.
that, is that you?
There's a portrait I did of Linda years ago.
Yay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Robin.
You're welcome. So next up, and you know, you'll go to his website, so you could take a really nice look at all of the work that he's done. Next up is Mark Tucker. Mark is also open on the art trail next weekend, so you can visit him next weekend. He lives in Danby on Comfort Road, and Mark works with natural objects and creates really beautiful artistic assemblages with them. And today we'll see Mark's studio and some of his work.
All right, am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm doing a solo venture here, so I'm holding the phone and talking and giving you a tour. First, let me explain some more detail about my process. I think I've always been a creative person, but my creativity is not necessarily in skills in painting or drawing or things like that, but in observing and gathering and then giving new form to things I see, pieces I see. And so I got inspired to do this work. I'll give you some backstory. About 19 years ago, I was living here in Ithaca, and friends of mine said they're going up to Long Point State Park. And they said they're going to go look for lucky stones, which are the stones that have natural holes in them. And I said, well, I'll go along. They invited me to go. So I went, and, you know, I found a few lucky stones, and then I started looking at all this shale and stone that was on the shore. And a lot of it was flat, but there was all these interesting shapes, you know, linear and round. And so I gathered about 200 or so of these stones, and then I went home. And then when I got home, I started to lay them out on a table. And as I laid them on a table, I started to move them around like a puzzle and see how they fit together. And then I noticed that, oh, this can be here and that can be there. And then I went ahead, and before I knew it, I had made I'll show you what the first thing I made, actually, if I can get it to reverse. Yeah. Before I knew it, I made this native like Aztec and Indian standing with the feathers. And then I thought, and then later it became a whole piece that I call a circle of life, where I have stones from all around the world circling and aspects. The top piece there is a part of a small mammal that looks like a white wolf mask, you know, head. So, and then there's a bird beak and this piece of obsidian I got in New Mexico on the ground, and that was what they call locally Apache Tears. You know, there's a whole story behind the women crying tears for the fallen warriors, and the tears fell on the ground, and that's why they call them Apache Tears. So that, when I got home, hold it. So when I got home, and a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, "Whoa, this is like a fun creative process where the pieces are literally all over the world, and it's my mission to gather them and give them a new form and see how they, you know, the greater parts become a greater whole." And so then I got inspired, and I started to go out there for hours. I go by the lakes, I go in the gorges, I go in the creeks, and I literally spend, you know, 8, 10, 12 hours a day just looking for interesting shapes and different objects and that. And so that was 19 years ago. And I have become pleasantly obsessed with stones ever since. To give you just an idea of my obsession, I will go reverse it again. And I have tens of thousands of stones. And so if I didn't categorize them in some way, there's no way I would be able to find anything I want when I start working on things. And then I started to work on a lot of like faces, making faces. And so then I decided to categorize some of these boxes. But if you can see close up, there's like mustaches, lips, eyelids, complete mustaches, body parts, angels and insects, eyes, crosses, thin arms, flat faces, smallest heads, so basically there's a wall of tens of thousands of stones, and I have to keep them somewhat organized so I can work on my work. And this currently I've been working on a lot of individual like small faces grouped together because I like the different emotions they come up with. And so I'll do this combination, all of them again, found objects that I just assembled together. And some of them are screaming, some of them are singing, some are smiling, some are sleeping. I call this one self-portraits. It's like 17 different self-portraits, different emotions. And here's one I just started working on yesterday. So my creativity became an associative type of creativity. This is a bench where I started working on a bunch of pieces. So yeah, my imagination is now, and creativity is very much associated with associating this part with that part and these parts in the whole and how it comes together. And sometimes it's actually seems magical to me because I just reach for the right piece, and then the way it comes together is like, to me, it's just, it flows, like there's a zen in the art of doing what I do, I think. And so that's a lot of my inspiration. I'll give you a tour of some complete pieces. I'm going to reverse again. This piece I did a while ago. It's the phoenix, rising from the ashes of the flames, and all shale. And of course, I inset on the fabric, and inset the pieces. This piece here is one of my favorites. It's called Offering to an Open Door, where this person is kneeling before this open door, and the angel is up above guiding the person. And they have I found this piece of seashell on the Pacific coast that looks like a vase. And they're basically offering the open door of opportunity, of presenting and honoring. And there's the door with a lucky stone, keyhole shaped stone, and abalone cosmic eye on the door. So this is a little more whimsical, comical. This is a piece where it's called, I call it sticking his neck out for truth. So basically, instead of the head being on the person's head, shoulders, there's a stick, and then there's an angel in the cloud, and the angel is dispelling some truth to this person. Here's another piece that is my favorite. I'd say 99% of what I find is nature made, nature produced, but every once in a while I'll find something like this old washer was rusted and bent in half, And that became a smiling face for that dude. And this piece, that little smiling face right there, is a part of a starfish leg that I found on the Pacific coast. When I was out in the Adirondacks several years ago, I was walking this creek, this dry creek, and I found this half of a turtle shell that was bleached out. And I said, that could be something, and it'll be a hard hat for this dude. Here's another one of my favorites. It's you can see it without the glare. It's an angel, and I call this angel ascending. And there's a couple of heart stones there and there. Anyway, I love the way that came together. Just last week, I discovered this monster head on the Finger Lakes Trail, off the trail a little bit, and decided to add a few teeth and an eye and an ear to it to make it look a little more menacing, in a playful way. And I have all types of things that, like dragons and all types of things that I kind of play with, and some of them become parts of a whole, and some of them are just parts by themselves. This is something I'm trying new. It's working with, I bought this tile, and then I decided to play around with it. So what I did is, I haven't finished it, it's a work in progress, but here we have a person meditating on the rock here by the water, flowing water. And then this little fairy creature here is kind of designating this person is ready for a gift. And so this fairy traveling here has a gift to share with that person, and flying in to give it to them. And there's some birds and clouds, and so that's a new. I like to experiment with new type of concepts in terms of assemblages. And here we have, I call this harmony and diversity. And it's an example of all these stones are different stones, different patterns, different colors, and they all fit together. Just like I said, my work is like kind of like a cosmic puzzle, right? And I just like the way they all fit together. I glued them on, and it becomes a frame piece, harmony and diversity. And even right there, real close, one of that stone looks like it has a dancing person right in the stone. It's kind of fun to see all the detail. So a lot of my work is very playful. As you can see, creatures of all kinds. Mud man, a horn little creature. Some are, I don't know if you can, some are like sleeping. This dude is just falling asleep. Here's an example of this was a mammal skull, and I decided to make him into an angel. He's pointing at something, you see. So that's an example, and I'll just briefly go into some of my photography, which I addressed once before. A lot of my photography now is all about, again, seeing things and then giving them a new perspective of things we all look at every day, but don't see it in this way. And so what I did was, I took this one, an irrigation channel near in Nevada, and I said, okay, so I started taking photographs, bisecting the land and the water. And when the water is very calm, I discovered it acts as a mirror, and the shore becomes symmetrical. And so there you have faces, I call it earth keepers. There's some subtle and not so subtle faces. And so a lot of what I do is now in the photography realm is that this one I call rock wisdom. There's a glare on there, but I'll try to get rid of that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And that was a rock outcropping in Colorado. I have a series of what we call Ithaca Inlet totems. Right along the inlet, there's all these creatures. It's like the Grinch and Dr. Seuss. That could be an elephant. There's a cat. There's all types of interesting. There's a creature. I couldn't even tell you what kind that was. And that's all just in one totem, like along the shore. So the combination of all, between photography and stonework, it's all about seeing things that we see every day or walk on every day, and just giving it a new, let me get back to, and giving it perspective, a new perspective. And so that's my mission. And that's what I've been dedicated to for years. I want to, about the creativity process, I was talking to Robin briefly the other day that, it's all about, everybody's creative. And somebody might be creative with numbers, somebody might be creative with words, somebody with their music, but everybody has it. And it's not about comparing and despairing, like comparing to other people, because everybody has their own thing, but it's just about finding, there's something in human nature that always has to create, whether it's cooking or sewing or whatever. And I like to inspire people that they have the ability, because I don't necessarily have motor skills in terms of, like I say, painting or drawing or things like that, but I have observation skills in terms of seeing things and seeing what else they could be. So that's that. And this, I want to share this with you. I read this the other day. It's about Picasso. Not that it's directly related, but it's just, to me, it's funny. But somebody was saying to Picasso that he ought to make pictures of things the way they are, objective pictures. He mumbled he wasn't quite sure what that would be. The person who was bullying him produced a photograph of his wife from his wallet and said, "There, you see, that is a picture of how she really is." Picasso looked at it and said, "She is rather small, isn't she? And flat." So,
Yeah.
So I invite you to come to the studio and see some more details in person and enjoy the wonderment that I've experienced for the last 20 years. Thank you very much.
That was an awesome presentation. First of all, I love the term pleasantly obsessed.
Yeah.
I love that.
Okay.
That could be like a good website, pleasantlyobsessed.com. I get
Yeah.
it. And I also get, because I play with like collage, and there's that moment when things click into place. Like it doesn't look good, it doesn't look good. And then there's this moment when your heart starts beating faster and you're like, that's it. And it's like you said, it's sort of this magic that happens when something coalesces,
Yeah, that's very well put. I have a friend out in California, actually, she teaches, it's called soul collage, where she actually has classes where she has people using all these elements from magazines and stuff, and speaking to their own personal soul, and she guides them, and it's quite powerful, actually.
Yeah. Well, you had some questions, and I'll let Kristin read some of them.
Okay, the first question was from Sue, and she's wondering what kind of adhesive that you use to glue the rocks.
I would say pretty much 90% of the time, it's a good question. 90% of the time people ask that because how do you keep the stones, from falling down and in an archival way? Well, I guess I'm doing an advertisement for, I don't get a commission for this, but JB Welt is one of them. Is that opposite? I don't know. And it takes about 8 hours to dry. It's it's epoxy glue where it's a light and a dark gray, and you mix them together. And it's nice because it takes so long to dry. You can work with it over time. You don't have to. But if you want a fast glue, they also make a clearer and epoxy, which is also lasts a long time. But that dries in like 10 minutes, so you have to be on top of it, which is a benefit. If I have to hold something, I don't want to hold it for 7 hours.
Yeah.
But the thing about the fast drying epoxy, it seems more toxic to me, so I don't like to use it. The smell. Now there's also another one. I use PC7, which is very similar. JB Well is a little bit easier to work with, but they're very similar, and I've used that for years too. And they're actually stronger than a lot of the stone I use, because a lot of the stone is shale, right? And shale is brittle, and the glue will peel off part of the stone before the glue would break. So that's the answer to that.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Okay, another question was about the framing. Do you frame all your pieces yourself?
That's a good question too. I don't do all of them. I do some of them. I did like the Phoenix and the Offering to an Open Door and Sticking Your Neck Over Truth. I did that. And a local, a brilliant artist, Fernando Hosa, he taught me his framing technique. And so I actually, about insetting, the stone and using foam core and then mat board, and then, insetting and gluing the fabric over it, and then, making a shallow, can I say this? Shallow shadow box. And
it did look like there was linen, like you were gluing on linen. Yeah.
Yes. I used to try to glue linen directly on. Then I discovered a linen book cloth that's already got the backing on it, so the glue doesn't come through, and it's a whole lot easier to work with. And
Okay,
yes.
I'm going to interrupt because I want to do one more question with you.
Okay.
And then, go for it, Kristin.
Okay, one last question. So do you travel anywhere to find your stones, any other countries or anything like that?
Yes, for not as much now as I get older, and I just moved back here to Ithaca in beginning of June, but I lived here for 19 years before. But I used to travel with my photography. In another lifetime, I did photography with music and songs combined, recorded and presented that all over the world, mostly North America. And so I have been every state and every city of any size in this country, and I have traveled everywhere I've gone in the last 20 years has been looking for stones and objects. So
What I actually asked Mark when we were rehearsing if he spent all of his time looking down.
yes,
like when you walk, do you have like a neck problem?
yeah,
From like looking down all the time.
it might catch up to me eventually. I mean, I don't seem to have, but probably something's developing, because rather look up, I'm looking down, and I look up also because I'm walking.
Right.
But yes, I spent a lot of time and looking down at the ground and looking at what's below my feet. So
this makes me want to go outside right now and start to gather stones together.
Well, a few people that came by today were saying a similar thing. Some of them were already major rock and stone collectors, and they said they inspired them to go out and look at life in a different way, and that'd be great.
That's so cool, like that you're inspiring people. The interesting thing is there's actually 3 people on the art trail who are working with natural objects, which is so interesting. So I do see there's a question from Cynthia McDonnell about the business end of art. And that's such a huge question. Do you have to go out and market your work, or do people hear about your work and come and purchase it? I'm going to save that one for the after party, because that's such a huge question.
It is.
It's some people create work and like me and don't really show it to anybody. It's just I call myself a stay-at-home artist. Some people are just showing their work. Some people try to make a living out of it. It's a whole spectrum of difficulty.
Yes.
So, well, thank you, Mark, so much. And if anyone on this call wants to show us something that you've created, just tell us in the chat room. And otherwise, I'm just going to say thank you and end this call. And I'm going to take everybody off mute. And if anyone just wants to hang out now and just chat like we're in a big party or something, you can hang around. But otherwise, thank you for coming. I hope that you tune in next weekend for the other calls. Next weekend on the 17th, we're going to have Barbara Behrman, who's a fiber artist, Stan and Marianne Bowman. Marianne makes really fun, enjoyable ceramic creatures. Stan is a digital photographer who's doing really cool 3D things. Carrie Zelson Robertson, who's on this call right now, who's a ceramist. And are we showing a video? Yeah, we're going to show a video you made. And then she shows us her studio and also how she makes her stuff. And Mary Beth Incan, who's a mural artist. You've seen her murals around town. And she does fun farm animals and all sorts of other stuff. So hope to see you on the 17th. Thank you, everybody. If you want to type any comments or suggestions or email me, that would be awesome. And have a good night or stick around.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Robin. It was really inspiring. Thank you.